This is the aftermath in Wisconsin of what's happening. And if you look inside the cars that were on fire last night, they are melted down to the frame. I mean, the engines themselves, I mean, look at this, is what appears to be a Jeep. Tires completely melted. Some of these cars you can recognize, like a Mini Cooper. You have all of these vehicles. Some of them are unrecognizable. It's insane. And you'll notice right here, look at that. Down to the wire, down to the wire. This is something that you would see, like it looks like a set from Jurassic Park or something where, you know, you've never seen this in real life. And this is what the Black Lives Matter movement and the rioting and the looting, this is what they want. They want to intimidate, they want to scare, they want to vandalize. This is crazy. And these riots that happened last night are just otherworldly. And when you go to the business itself, right, this is something they won't show you on the news. Look at the business, completely ransacked. Imagine this is someone's life. This is something that they created. I'm gonna try to get in here. I mean, look at this. They didn't break open to a point past incineration. I mean, the tires were just dust. I've never seen that before, Mark. I've never seen something like that in an American city done on purpose. And to look at the buildings being burned, and we'll get into this, it appears that night one was just the hair of the dog. It was the shot 2000 BC war movie like 300.
You know, Elijah, I think back to riots in the past. I think back to Ronald Reagan as governor of California when 5,000 students took over Berkeley, took over a parking lot. They wanted it to be a park, took over an administration building. And he sent in the police, the state troopers, and the National Guard. And they said, "What do you want us to do?" And he said, "Put it down by any means necessary."
For all this and much more, sign up for Levin TV.